This is the Westlake Lanes Case Analysis by Kaylee, Emily, Colin, and Echo. Based on our research, we think you should turn Westlake Lanes into a bar with bowling.
For the company's issue is inadequate ROI. The company's profits declined 14% since 2004 to 2009, and the target market strategy is narrow.
We first needed to take a look at the company's financials, and to do this, we compared your revenues, expenses, and your profit margin. As you can see, revenues and gross profit started to decline in 2004, and in 2009 to 2010, when changes started to be made, they started to go back up again. We then looked at your expenses over this time period. What we saw was that they remained pretty consistent and were not cut in response to the low levels of revenue, and were actually increased in some years, such as 2007. This made profit margin decrease throughout the years because the company was spending too much on expenses and was not making enough in gross profit. Profit margins did not start to increase again until 2009, when costs were finally being cut.
Westlake Lanes is an establishment that has been around for over 30 years, founded by Dane Sugar. It is in the downtown area of Raleigh, so it is near all the other stores. The main products Westlake provides are food and entertainment. It has bowling lanes which are 32 weeks long in duration, and the main competition, according to Sugar, wasn't the other alleys in the area, but the businesses that competed for his customers limited time.
All right. To discover Westlake Lane's competitive advantage, we performed a SWOT analysis. Now, fortunately, Westlake Lanes does have a couple of strengths. It's a well-established business. It's been around for around 30 years, and it has a good reputation within the community. It also has returning league players and customers. Now, unfortunately, these strengths were not enough to protect it from its weaknesses. It does have major financial problems. The interior is extremely outdated. It's not modern, and the market is leaving it behind because it is so old. It has a very limited menu, which means that it's costing the Westlake Lanes a lot of food revenue. The facilities are deteriorating. This may be dangerous because it presents a risk of liability. And probably one of the most major weaknesses is there's inefficient advertising, and we're not reaching a large enough customer base. Now, fortunately, Westlake Lanes does have a huge competitive advantage. It's in a prime downtown location, which means it's very unique. It offers variation in the area. It's also in the very center of activity. It's extremely accessible to the customers, and it's very attractive to them because it is so unique. It also does have a hard liquor license, and that can be utilized to bring in revenue. There are a couple of external threats facing Westlake Lanes. There's always the threat of economic downturns, which completely dictates profitability within the industry. Because customers have less demand for the goods and services, there won't be as much generation of profits for Westlake Lanes. There's also competition from bars and other activity-based businesses in the area. Luckily, Westlake Lanes does have its competitive advantage, but it also makes variation and differentiation much more important to make it stand out and unique to draw on the customers. There's also the threat of changing social trends. Bowling may not always remain popular. So for example, incorporating a bar into this will, if bowling ever becomes unpopular, help to sustain the business.
One of the alternatives that we came up with was to sell the establishment. The pros to this are that we can pay back all our loans, it's low risk, and given to a work less and can explore new opportunities. The cons are that you lose the chance of getting an ROI, you're destroying a family business, and employees will lose their jobs.
Right, the second alternative is sustaining Westlake Lanes. One of the major pros is that it's very low risk because there's no major investment required. You would also get to maintain the current state of affairs and the employees, which means there'd be little change, little hassle. We think that this option is feasible because it's projected to generate positive revenue in 2010 for the first time in 7 years, so it may continue on this trend with the new changes that have been incorporated. You'd also keep the league, so you'd cater to the same familiar customer base. There are a couple of cons. The first is that you'd have to increase advertising expenses to reach out to a larger customer base. And there's also a much lower profit potential because there is a huge opportunity cost if you went with sustaining Westlake lanes because you're not exploiting your competitive advantage.
And the third alternative is turn the company into bar with a body. And the first approach is target market is larger than before because we added the college student in target. The second is advertising. We don't need to put too much money on this part because we focus on the college student. We can use Facebook and Twitter. The third one is profit. At the bar in the business, that means a higher profit margin. And the costs, we will put more money on the cost because we need a large remodel cost. We need to remove the lights and buy the basic equipment. The human resource, we need to hire 3 more full-time employee service customers as the bartenders and the 2 employees to keep the security.
The fourth alternative that we looked at was creating a family-friendly restaurant inside the bowling alley. This has a relatively low remodel cost, just focusing mostly on the restaurant. There's a shorter renovation period, and the ability to open quickly is good. We also have the ability to maintain league and keep current loyal customers. Cons about this is the food improvements. Because it's a new restaurant, we're going to need a new food supplier who can give us more variety food and better quality food. We will also have to increase costs in advertising and increase staff costs, which include a wait staff and a new chef.
This is our decision matrix, and we basically took our 4 alternatives and judged them based on the criteria that we decided. Selling has the best ability to pay off all loans because you basically get all your money back. Sustaining is the best choice for the company's financial position right now because we already have the numbers for it. The kids' restaurant, while it has growth opportunities and it's good with the company's financial position, the bar with bowling has the higher chance of growth opportunities and is able to compete with the current competition. Our marketing strategy for this is discounts for college students and discounts on beer on certain nights. Open up nights for younger people, live music from local bands, limiting the amount of nights the leaguers can rent if they still come, adding more variety to the menu, modernizing the logo, and changing the hours of operation.
As far as organizational and human resources go, we would keep most of the current staff. We would keep Gary Spalding to maintain the lanes. Shirley Smith, instead of going out and trying to find a new management, which is very costly, we could provide training for her because we think she's an important asset, seeing how she has been here for a long time and she's personally invested in the business. Danielle Sinclair we will also keep to take care of the kitchen, but he would no longer be responsible for the bar. Part-time employees will be kept as well, but we will reduce the amount of them. New staff would include bartenders and security. Based on this, we found that the estimated increase in monthly wages would be about $6,600. The plan to implement these things, we need to create a business plan first and define our business objectives. gather information such as building permits that might be required, and most importantly, seek financing. Once we have the financing, we can begin to remodel. That would include demolition, deciding on a decor, and beginning to source new suppliers for alcohol and food. Once remodel is underway, we can prepare for opening. That includes hiring and training staff, advertising, and planning for opening event. The tentative schedule for implementing this new business plan would take about 8 months once renovations start. However, creating a business plan and market research should be done before we even acquire financing. We were able to estimate our startup costs and monthly costs as seen, and with those costs, we determined that we would like to have an ultimate break-even point of after 18 months. And with that information, we found that the amount of money invested into the business after 18 months would be about $2 million. We made assumptions on average sales during that time to come up with an average amount of people we would need per week, which we found to be 1,092 people. Is this possible? Yes. Right now, there are currently 215 customers who are coming here. There was an increase in customers once hours of operation increased at night, which implied that younger people were coming in later. Based on this, we're not worried about having a smaller target market because we believe that even with a smaller target market, because a more concentrated target market, because it is bigger, reaching 1,092 customers a week is not going to be a problem.
All right, we've assessed 3 major plans that are associated, or 3 major risks associated with this plan. The first is financial risk, and this is really the idea that we'd be unable to finance and sustain this plan. We've assessed it to be medium in probability and significant in severity, just because this plan may not be able to be implemented immediately, but Westlake Lands can still maintain functional profit. So the goal of this plan would to be sustaining business operations, and how we do this is increasing advertisement. Also, we have no major investments. We'd have to generate retained earnings, pay off debt, and increase attractiveness to the investors. And this mitigation plan overall allows us to maintain business operations while increasing profit and generating income to be able to reinvest in yourself. The next risk that we assessed is the market risk, and that's the risk that the target market is not getting involved with this new bar with bowling idea. This is low in probability just because of the industry analysis, and it's moderate in severity if it were to happen. The mitigation plan in place would be to increase advertising to grab a larger customer base. We'd also try to increase events, also to reach a larger customer base, host bowling competitions, reduce drink prices for an evening to introduce the target market to this new product, and also to maybe extend the hours of the operation to make them a little bit later. And now, while this mitigation plan has upfront costs, it would generally increase the longevity of the business and generate a higher potential profit in the future by appealing to this target market. The last one is the strategic risk, which the goal of this one would be to get a wider range of market segments. And how we do that is to appeal to maybe kids and family by creating just one night for them, creating kids menu for during the day. That way we'd be able to expand to a larger target market and better be able to compete with the competition. So overall, we believe that remodeling Westlake Lanes and adding a bar that targets college-aged and young adults would be greatly beneficial to the business. And that's because it would greatly increase profit potential by exploiting its major competitive advantages. Thank you.